Hello, everybody. This is the first episode of what's hopefully going to be an ongoing thing where I go through some process stuff with everybody and some of my friends. So we're going to be doing some fan art. I got 2 Tumblr requests in a row for Galacta Night. So I'm going to do that. So first, I'm going to show you guys how I concept stuff. So switch to my iPhone. So here's the basic setup. Oh yeah, sweet aerial view of that. Look at my sketchbook here. Smallish sized, regular old Walmart pencil. So the way generally I start drawings is I will concept sketch in here, and then that goes onto the computer. So here's concept of Galacta Night. I did a few little mini sketches, and this is the one that I ended up with. It's tiny. I draw things really tiny when I first start out, so you can see the scale, thumbnail size, where it's an actual, real actual thumbnail. So once I do the concept sketch, I take a photo of it with my phone, and then I sync it to the computer so I have it on there. I already did that. So now I'll show you what we're working with on the technology side of things. I have this tablet, Intuos 5. I'm not going to say the name of the company that makes it because I can't pronounce it, or I don't know how. I have a MacBook Pro, and there's my tablet pen. Okay, so now we're going to switch back to the computer, hopefully. And I'm going to get rid of this. Whee! All right. So I generally start, I usually work on a canvas that's at least 2,000 pixels wide by 2,000 pixels high. Sometimes it'll be bigger than that depending on what I know I want to use it for. This I'm just going to post online probably, so there's no need for it to be any larger than that. First off, make this a little bit bigger. And the first thing I usually do is I'll go to add a solid color to the background. And I usually do that by going down to the layers palette and selecting solid color from the masks dialog box thing. You can't see it on there because it's only sharing that screen for some reason, which is really great. But that way, if you resize the canvas, it'll stretch to fit the size of the canvas, which is pretty nice. You don't always have to refill the background with color. Okay, so I have my sketch. I'm going to drag it into Photoshop. There it is. And I just take a picture of it with my phone because I don't really need it to be super great. So I'll just use my select tool to kind of go around it roughly and then drag it into my other document over here and then say goodbye to that. So there he is. Lower the opacity on that. And this time I'm going to be working in a lineless format. I do a couple different kinds of styles depending on what I feel like. I'll do outlines sometimes or whatever, but this time I'm going to do lineless because I like to do that every once in a while. or kind of a lot actually, I guess. But that's one of the other things that people ask about a lot. So I'll show you guys how that works. Or my process anyway, not how it works. And so for line lists, I usually work in color blocks. And so I generally will just do a search for the character that if I'm doing fan art anyway, I'll do a search for the character and just get like a basic color. So I found this one, and this one has like some pretty good colors on it, like those. So I'm gonna start with my flats first, which I generally will just outline each of the major shapes, like probably do the wings, shield, all that stuff on different layers, like in blocks. And when I select colors, I usually like to use the actual image and kind of color sample around on it just to get an idea of what colors I'm working with. But then I like to usually push them in different directions. So like I might push it a little bit warmer or a little bit colder depending on what I feel like. So let's see this one. Actually, I don't know if anyone can even see that. Yes, darn it. Oh, hey. Oh, yeah, that was good. Okay, so now you can actually see what I'm doing, which should be helpful. Do this in one take, guys. That's why it's going to be so awesome. So let's see, I think I want him to be like probably a little bit more purple for some reason. So I'm going to push that a little bit more purpley and maybe a little bit lighter for that base color. Dang it. So for brushes, I use Kyle Brush. I'm spacing on his last name right now, but kylebrush.com. All of his brushes are really good for Photoshop, and I will take them and like kind of rename them these like really terrible names, but just so I can keep track of them. And sometimes I'll edit them a little bit based on what my needs are. Like sometimes I make them a little bigger, a little bit smaller, or like change some of the brush settings. If I want like less of a taper, you know, I might like mess around with that a little bit. But one of my favorite ones to do lineless work is this 2B pencil. I can't remember what the original name is, but it's in the drawing set, I believe, the ultimate drawing set. So I'm gonna use that one for this one because I dig it. Zoom in a little bit. And so again, I'm just gonna start with my basic shapes here. So I'll kind of just block this out. I could speed this up later, but I'm not going to. So you can get the full painful experience of watching me slowly make each shape. This is going to be way better when there's other people on here because I don't know what to talk about to myself. So as you can see, I'm pretty bad at knowing when I can just leave it alone and like not mess with it anymore. This edge is like probably good enough, but I'm going to keep messing with it anyway. Okay, so now the way I usually fill this in is I'll do like a select, invert the selection, and then I usually contract it like 2 to 4 pixels depending on what size I'm working with, and then just fill it in like crazy. And even then it still gets these little turds over here that I have to do. You can totally do an action to just do that for you, but I'm like Photoshop stupid and I could never get it to work right. So I just do it by hand. Oh, and so for lineless work, I usually like to have the drawing on the top layer, which is one of the other reasons why I lower the opacity, so I can actually see everything going on there. Kind of forgot to do it at the start that time, but and I keep it at about 21 to 25, depending on like how dark the line work is. This line work's kind of dark, so I can see it pretty okay. Okay. So I probably could do all the feet and stuff on separate layers, but I'm not going to. Or on the same layer, I guess. I'm not going to because I think it'll be easier for me. Get some wings going on here. I'm gonna make these more that color. Does that look good? Yeah. I mean, you guys don't really get a say in whether or not it looks good. You just have to deal with it. I'm in charge of this podcast or whatever this is. So again, just kind of getting all the basic shapes. When I do lineless work, I don't do any interior lining until later. I just start with these like really big blocky shapes, and then after the fact, I'll go in and add all the line stuff in. Because typically even the lineless work has some lines in it. Let's see if that looks really terrible. Is it good enough? Nope. This one just looks too different. Well, now I kind of ruined it for real. Really good at drawing, guys. Oops. You actually have to close the shapes if you want to select them, so you gotta kind of like draw little weird lines down there. Another really great thing about using the fill with color down here, this, which I didn't show you that earlier, but it's this little guy, this half circle thing, and then you pick solid color, is later on if I'm like, oh, this color's kind of light, it's kind of hard to see on a white background, you can just double click this and just change it to like a darker color, which is going to make it way easier to find these little holes which no one can see when the art's full size, but I'm still gonna go through and get really upset about it. No. Yeah. Once I do the major shape tube, I'll go back and sometimes I kind of like refine out like if certain edges look too flat or kind of got wrecked when I was coloring them or filling them in. Just peeping to make sure that my screen is still being shared. Let's see, so it looks like his leg is the same color as his body. So actually can put these on the same layer as the wings. Try to kind of keep layers to a minimum because sometimes if you've got multiple characters in a file or whatever, it gets a little hard to like the file gets giant. I don't know where I was going with those words that I was saying there. Yeah, I try to keep the file from getting too enormously giant. Free sound effects. There's a good chance that I might make some sound effects or start whistling or something because I forget that I'm not by myself. I don't really, how do I do that? Yeah, that's okay. Also, these broadcasts are probably going to be live. This one's live right now, so anytime I make a mistake, that's why it's there, because I can't go back and change it, and I probably wouldn't anyway, because I'm lazy. So if this broadcast is really, really terrible, then I'm not sorry, because it's free. I was gonna say that I was sorry, but I'm not sorry. Shoes are too. Oh wait, shoes are. His shoes are too pointy, but his shoes are actually kind of pointy. Frick. Better make his shoes pointy then. Oh. I also always listen to music when I draw or watch really bad TV shows. But I can't do that on here because Google will like tattle on me or kick me off because this is live. Sometimes I just color stuff in like this because I kind of get like a weird satisfaction. It's like I'm coloring for real. So you can probably already tell that I'm like the least efficient artist of all time. Probably literally anyone else could do this like 10 times faster. But this ain't about them, it's about me. So you just have to sit here and watch this. Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. Zoom in and check for weird holes. All right, sweet. Oh, I was about to say I made a mistake, but I didn't because these shoulder pads are luckily really close to or above both the wings and the arms, so should be good. Actually, well, I I did mess up though. I'm realizing as I'm drawing that these wings are too light and they're gonna clash with the. I'm really good at Photoshop. Okay, here we go. You're gonna clash with my shoulder pads and you can't have that. So to fix that, I'm gonna do, that's why I put those wings on their own layer. So now they're like not with the arms and legs, but that's cool because I'm gonna do color overlay on them. And I'm gonna go over to this guy, select this, and I'm gonna make him more like blue. Let's see, how's that look? Yeah, okay, that's pretty good. So okay, and then usually I'll just right away rasterize the layer style because I don't really need it to be a layer style. No, these wings are bothering me. They need more pizzazz. This pair is like longer than the other pair is. It might be too much. Oh, just fixing all the stuff that I messed up. Yeah, sweet. Sometimes I like move stuff around a little bit, or like change it because I can do whatever I want. That looks better. Cool. All right, now we're gonna get these shoulder pads going. Maybe make these a little bit more of that color. Sometimes when I'm doing lineless work, I will outline certain things. Like these, normally I would probably outline with a darker color and then fill them in. So like draw them like this. That looks kind of weird. But I think this is going to be on a dark background, so I'm not going to do that this time. Coffee break. That was for the viewer's benefit because you can't see that I'm drinking a cup of coffee, so I'll do a little sound effect for you guys. Wings back here. We'll draw. For my eraser, I just use like a basic eraser, like a round. I tend to like to just be able to like cleanly erase lines like that. So like if I zoom in, you'll be able to tell like it doesn't look very pencily. It's not fuzzy like the other stuff is fuzzy. But then just go back in and add it in. Kind of like doing that better than erasing with like a weird brush or something, even though there are like a lot of really good ones in those brush sets. I don't use any of them because I'm not that good. I haven't advanced to that level yet. All right, so that's like looking pretty okay. At least for right now, I think I'm satisfied with these. I say as I keep drawing on them. Yeah, word. Okay, so I'm going to use, I can keep this layer and use this for the shield too, because it's not going to overlap at all. Oops. Oh, I don't know why I'm doing that. I should draw this first too. A little tip for you guys. Sometimes I use this. If you hold down the shift key and click once, and click over here, it draws like a straight line, which is kind of super handy sometimes. Even though with the brushes, like it did there, it kind of makes the lines too thin. But it makes it a little bit easier to like trace back over them. So I kind of follow this line and draw inside it. Except that one I messed up. It's a good thing nobody can see my posture because that is not something anyone should ever try to emulate. It's the worst. When I do this, I'm just kind of trying to get around the edges where it misses the fill because it doesn't really fill right. Okay. We're almost to the fun part. This part's kind of fun, sort of. Right now it doesn't look like anything. So you don't look at it and go, yeah. You're just kind of like, eh. Frick. Really dorked that up. Wow, that looks so bad. Okay, let's rewind. Rewind time a little bit here. Just kind of trying to make these moderately the same, each side moderately the same size. It doesn't have to be super close, but I try to at least try a little bit when I draw, you know. Oh my gosh. Okay, whatever. That's close enough. You guys get the idea. I'm not going to obsessively mess with this. Okay, now again, I'm looking at this and I'm like, did I make this too light? Let's see what it looks like if I put some white next to it. Okay, never mind. That's cool. I'm cool with that. Okay, now I just need, well, let's see. All right, we start working on line work now. Oh, I just saved that for the first time. Don't do that. Always save your things frequently. Okay, so this is one of my favorite tricks that I learned, Photoshop tricks. I use this all the time, my lineless work, and it makes everything like a million times better. So I have my body right here. So you make a new layer above whatever one you want, and then you, if you're on a Mac, you press Command-Alt-G to make a clipping mask, which makes it so that whatever you draw, it only goes on the layer below it. You can see there's like this little arrow guy there, which makes it so much easier to color in this kind of stuff because I can just kind of like do my thing. And it looks really good, and I like barely have to do anything, which I love because I'm lazy. Fix this messed up little corner down here. So that's one of the reasons why I block everything out in big color blocks like that, because then I can go back in on separate layers. Like the legs and arms, I put on a different layer from the head, because if they were all in one layer, when I would go like to draw over here, it would get on the foot. And that's just like, it's a little bit more work in the beginning to put everything on separate layers, but you save yourself some time later. So then every time you just make a new layer that you want to use there, you just do that same thing. So I'm gonna make this like purple, kind of purpley, blue, bluish purple. As you can see, sometimes, well, a lot of times, not sometimes, I deviate from my sketches, but that's why sketches are there, just to kind of like give you an idea of what you're doing. So then you can go in and like hopefully make it a lot better when you actually draw it. Okay, I think I'm going to put these little horn guys on a different layer just because I kind of want them to be a little bit more hassle-free. Make those like that color. Wait. There we go. You can probably hear all my street noises. My street is so loud. And there's always 15 people driving by on loud motorcycles every second of the day. It's so great. I think I like that, but it's also like weirdly crooked. Oh wait, maybe this one's weirdly crooked. Maybe I have no idea what I'm doing. It is kind of helpful because I kind of like all my stuff to be just a little bit off center and just like looking. I mean, maybe I just tell people that that's part of my style, is that I just kind of draw really bad, but I do sort of like off center things and making them look a little bit weird just because I think it's more fun. All right, let's color this in. Oops. See how it looks. I'm into it. Well, except that one's a little bit taller than the other one is. Okay, there we go. Let's come on now. Classic move by me. Adjust one and messes up the other one. Okay, there we go. That's good enough. Get my colors here. He's got some little like thingies there. And again, I'm using my layer mask or clipping mask for the layer above, so I can just color on these horns. And it just kind of like automatically goes where it needs to go. Sweet. Yeah, sure, why not? I'll mess with these more. That's better. All right, so now we are kind of sort of getting into fun stuff because we're actually coloring now and like getting into details and things. Get some pink eye here. Jokes. Oops. Another example of how I like to make stuff kind of crooked. Make this eye a little bit lower than the other one. And now another one of my trademarks is everything has eyebrows. I like eyebrows. You get a lot of expression out of them. Let's see, instead of making a white line there, which that kind of looks like, I think I'm going to make this darker. Because I'm in charge. Another really good trick. So the clipping mask only clips the base layer, so they all apply to the body. But if you, like, what if I don't want this line that I'm drawing here for the mask to go on that pink part back there? Well, if you hover over this layer right here and hold Command while you click, it'll create a selection based on only that layer. Although, oh, it's not doing it because I'm clicking on the wrong layer. There you go. So now you also cover like that part. So I can't draw on the pink part. I can only draw on the mask. Does he have any over there? No. Cool. Too bad that looks terrible though. Drawing round shapes in Photoshop is maybe one of the most difficult things you'll ever do in your life. So that time I put the line on a separate layer, but sometimes like with these up here, the shape is so simple that I'm probably just gonna select that layer and also put the mask on it and just draw right on top of this. Because if I need to adjust these, like if I look at them and I'm like, I wanna fix this line, I can just color over it pretty easily and it won't be a big deal. Another thing I can see is I missed some spots there. I'm also going to go down here and draw. Oops, forgot my selection. So this is kind of what I was talking about, how like sometimes lineless work, even the lineless work that I do, even will have lines that do, because I kind of like some delineation between different parts. This one's going to have one too. I might as well do these shoulder pads at the same time. And do another layer underneath that one. And usually I also keep these character things open just so I don't have to keep, sometimes I close them if I'm just doing a really broad interpretation, but I like to be able to see what I'm drawing while I'm drawing it, just in case I forget, because half the time I don't remember what these, even a character I've drawn 100 times, I don't remember what it looks like. A really good skill of mine. I'm gonna do a little bit of accent stuff on these horns. Just in case you couldn't tell, I really like bright colors. So I like to keep everything looking really bright and sparkly looking. Cool. All right, we're getting there. 3 hours later. All right. Not too much more to go. Go back up to my shield layer. That started out so well, and then it just went way downhill. There we go. That's better. There's nothing worse than drawing a perfect line, messing it up at like the last second. But I do that all the time. So that looks like about the same color, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the same color. A little bit lopsided. In this case, not good. It looks bad. There's planned asymmetrical drawing, and there's just like regular old bad drawing, which is what I try to avoid sometimes. That kind of looks white, so even if it's not, I'm just going to call it white. So I think it'll look better. I'm really into keeping my drawings very accurate, as you can tell. Already there. Another really great thing about clipping masks is I can see like this, when I was messing with this earlier, I like really messed it up and just made it look super bad. So I can just erase the base layer and it erases everything below it, or like all the other colors. But then when I come back in here and redraw this line to get the pencil edge back, it's all my coloring is still there. So it saves you a ton of time when you want to do stuff like that. Okay. Oh, his gloves are white. They have little, like, they do have little cuffs on them. Wait. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Sometimes I have to check and remember where all my colors are. Okay. So I would say making everyone watch this tedious process is probably a fitting revenge for all the people that ask me what my process is. Like, you thought you wanted to know, but you didn't. Because it's terrible. All right, so I gotta add little cuffs on these gloves. Little bubbles. Boop. Bubble sound effects. Boop. Oh, we're getting so close. You can also save all your colors and palettes and all that kind of stuff. As you can see, every time I need to select a new color, I like go back into the file and like hide my wow. I hide my line work layer, which is a lot of extra work, but I don't like when my palettes are all cluttered up. So that's why I do that. It's very inefficient. But this is the benefit of drawing for yourself. You're poor, but you can do whatever you want. I answered snowman. Okay, let's see here. Probably need a little bit of accents so we can see the armor. I'm just gonna oops, I don't think I want to do that. There we go. Okay, gloves are white, so we're still on this back layer here. I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Color those bad boys in. Well, there's a good chance that normally I would be outlining these, but like I said, I'm doing a dark background, so I'm not going to bother doing that this time. I'm just going to add little lines here where the cuffs are and maybe a little in there so you can differentiate it from that because they're the same color. Back up to my armor layer and fix. So you can see I don't bother coloring under there. Really good. Okay, one more piece to go. We gotta get these wings sewn up. That looks good. The great thing about Tumblr requests is that the people that requested this have to watch this whole video. So I know it won't be a waste of time. At least 2 people will be watching this. That's the way it works, guys. Do I want to do that? No. Looks terrible. Okay, I think we're finally ready to dump the line work. Bye-bye. Now that all that stuff's done, I also can usually just get rid of this because I probably won't need it anymore. I usually kind of double check to make sure I didn't miss anything because I do that a lot. So much. I miss so many things. But now another little trick. If you want to do a little bit of highlighting or shading, I'm probably not going to shade this just because they're not really, I think it looks better without it, but I think I am going to add a couple little highlights. So you can group all those layers together and then do a clipping mask on the group. So now if I set this to overlay, and then I pick a nice little overlay color, which is usually like a lighter kind of grayish color of some sort. It'll only color on the whole group, which is so awesome. It's really great. You should be thanking me for all these sweet tips. Little highlight there, little highlight there, and there, little horn highlight. And some on this. Oh, wait, that looks bad. I'll just leave those alone. Give him some highlights in his armor because it looks cool. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for that. Now the last step Once he's done, he's floating in space there. First, I'm going to pick an appropriate background color. Not that. Make it look kind of like space or something. He's a little space boy. Maybe a little bit more gray. So I switch this. Oh, you know what? I could just make it the same color as that. No, that's bad. Then I almost always do some curves adjustments because I like to play with color ranges. And this is my favorite kind of not automatic setup, but this is what I usually do. So if you open a curves layer from down here, like I did curves, come up with this little dialog box. You can select which one you want to mess with, red, green, or blue, assuming that you're working in RGB. So I almost always like to pull the red balance up, like the lower one. I don't really know what any of this stuff does, just FYI. I have next to no clue what I'm doing. But I know it changes the colors, and I know sometimes I like those colors, so I just keep doing it. And a lot of times I will do this with the green. Except this time I don't like that much. I'm gonna do, wait. Yeah, here, no. Maybe reverse that. I like what that does to the armor. That's probably good. And then the blue, I like to pull the bottom of the blue balance up, and sometimes up here, depending on the piece, because this actually looks kind of good too on some of them. But on this one, it's making the colors too dull, so I think I'm going to pull both ends up. Because he's kind of a purpley blue character anyway, so bringing the red and the blue balances up really makes his colors kind of pop a little bit better. And then you can also do the same thing. You can make that a clipping mask. If I don't want it to mess with the background, I can see how that looks. Yeah, see, I think I like him better on like the all dark background. In fact, see, now that we're pretty much all done there, switch to Photoshop. There we go. I'm gonna do one of those fancy Tumblr thingies. I think that would actually look kind of good with this character. First I have to get the color because I don't really know what it is off the top of my head. Yeah, it's okay. Here's what I'll do though. I do kind of like this. So I'm just going to do another solid color layer and keep them both if I want to switch back and forth or like post one on Instagram, which I'll probably do. Okay, so then save, always save all your stuff. Kind of in the middle here. And now before I save this for actual posting, I'm going to crop it down a little bit so the character can be a little bit bigger. Why did you do that? And then I always save for web so my colors look right. Can you hear me typing? That was me typing. Actually, I don't know why I'm still recording, because that's pretty much it. That's the end. So there you go, process for doing some like flat colory kind of stuff. Next time I do one of these, I will probably do one that's like some line work or something. So subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want, or just check back to my website or my Tumblr. I will post them there and you can watch them if you want to. Thanks for checking it out. Have a good night.